Hello everybody, and welcome back. It's the Mac, and welcome back to the channel. And in this episode, we're going to have a look at the Panzer campaign's Scheldt 44. It's on the list. We're going to go through it and have a look at the features, what comes with the game, and a bit of the background story, I guess, what I know about this particular operation. And of course, the game is from Wargame Design Studio, and it's a John Titor legacy game as well. Right, so looks like any other Panzer campaigns when you fire it up. You're all familiar with it. This particular release is, let me see here. Right, so this is actually not the latest. I think I've already covered the latest version. I mean, the latest Panzer campaign's title, and that was the Kiev 43 there, yeah. So this was actually released right before that, this Scheldt 44. So we'll look at the game here, just the web page there. Yeah, so here it is. You can buy it here, and we're going to go through this in the documentations and stuff as well, but bunch of scenarios in this. Some interesting advance to the Dutch border. You get the Channel Ports campaign. You got Market Garden. It's included. And the Scheldt campaign early and the Scheldt campaign late. So the title is Scheldt 44, but the game, as it said there, actually covers some prelude to the actual Battle of Scheldt and the proclamation there of Antwerp as well. So let's just dive into the folder. This game is actually there's a different layout to this title as of some of the older Panzer campaign titles that I've been covering. It's actually very well made. I'm going to go through it here because I like the way they've actually set up this game. And there's not that many different files to open. I mean, you got the getting started, you got the user, and the notes. They're always very good in these games, but the notes in this is probably the best I've ever seen in any of the titles so far. And if you go into the notes, it goes Scheldt 44 design notes here. What they've actually done is present every single scenario in the game and campaign and sort of deep dive to it, you know. They have a massive description. Instead of having lots of text before, you know, as we've seen in the others, that they explain this and that and all that, they actually have a really detailed description of every scenario, which is really helpful for people, myself included, actually. This is actually a campaign I'm not that familiar with. It's actually known to be a campaign that hasn't been that much put in the spotlight in war movies and books and stuff. This is for more of the hardcore World War II enthusiast who know every single operation and stuff. But it's a deep dive into that, and it's really well made. I mean, they got everything in here. So, I mean, they start with the first scenario. There's Antwerp, the Taurus pursuant. So they go into the... You can see that, I mean, this is one scenario here. Look at all the documentations for that. It's amazing. And then they have the variants. It's listed here. So this is a stock scenario here to play. And then you have a variation for the PBM play there. So actually, 0904-01, this one here, that's actually meant to be played as PBM. It's intended for that. And the A version is intended to play against the AI. So it's all very well described here, which is great. So if we go back into the game, for instance, also they have 3 different getting started for this, because they really want to get you through how to do certain things, because there's going to be a lot of river crossings and water crossings and build bridging and engineering and stuff, because this operation was all about, basically. So here you go. Here's the Antwerpen here. So this one here is meant to be played versus. It even says here, which is great. It's now the information is basically everywhere in the system. As I've said before, you usually have to dive back and forth in documentation to find what the hell kind of rules you were supposed to use and how it was intended. But it's all now very clear, written up there. So that's great. Let's move on here. Yeah, so look at that. They even have maps. They have recommended reading for the certain scenario, which is great. And then they go into the second one, Herbststurm, Autumn Gale. They go into that. I'm not that familiar with all. I know the overall sort of what was going on and who fought where, basically, but I'm not really familiar with all the operations, what they were called and stuff. But it's all here. So I mean, you just read it when you're going to decide to play a scenario there. See the pursuit of the German border here. So you have the Germans were in full retreat there, but they did put up some hardened resistance as the Allies were advancing there. You got Albert Canal, the Bloody Triangle, Moorburg, Routine Affair. Yes, so this is what I'm not going to go through every single one here, because I think these notes you can actually have a look at from the website as well. But look at this. This is great. I mean, everything, planning maps. I love this stuff. I mean, it's packed with information. The research that gone into this is insane, as usual. Very well researched. Very good for you to just basically. You don't have to. Well, you could, as it says, recommended reading, but I mean, it's all here, basically. So it goes to, all the scenarios are covered here, which is just great. And it goes all the way down to, let me see at the bottom here. It's pretty extensive, man. There's lots of stuff here. Yeah, and they go through the getting started, just since there's 3 different ones. So this one here is a devastating blow. It's just you get familiarized with the basics of movement and fire, basically. Then you have Operation Mallard, and this one is to get you with the mechanics of crossing canals and rivers, and you have the perfect Battle of Blerick. What's that one about? Intended to introduce players to bunker assaults and anti-tank ditch destruction. Yeah. Big part of this. So they have that, which is good. Sort of 3 different tutorials for that. And there is some notes about order of battles. And basically, it was very hard to research the OOBs for this. Because there's not that many good surviving documentations of it. And many were like hard to interpret because many units were not full strength. They were like put together and they were mixed, and so I mean there's a lot of things you sort of have to generalize, basically. So it's kind of tough. I think they really must have cracked their heads to get all this information here, but it's well researched, and I mean it's they know their stuff, basically. And there is also good notes about, except for heavy weapon companies, they are sort of integrated into because they will probably be distributed into the companies anyways. But it's all here, man. How they have planned, how they set up the units, Allied anti-aircraft units, Corps and Army and headquarter engineers. Logistics, motorization, bicycle transport, bridge capability, Deutsches Schützengruppen, resistance. They have this explained here for the morale. This is all familiar for us who play many of the games, of course. Goes on and on, man. They have it all here. Talking about replacements. They're talking about the map. There was a lot of flooding going on as well during this. They flooded canals and flooded areas. It was really brutal fighting and hard going. And the Germans put up one hell of a defense in some of these areas, and it was really tough for the Allies to advance here. They had the Walcheren, See different PDTs for these as they're getting flooded during as the time progresses in the battle. It's pretty cool. Artillery values, air interdiction, and they have also the optional rules that's recommended for the Scheldt 44, the scenarios here. It's all here. And this night move disruption is pretty good that they actually brought that up. It's actually been the night move disruption rate of 30 was selected after extensive testing. So that is mostly just elite units and commandos and SS and stuff have a chance of actually moving during nighttime without being disrupted. Anything below that in training or morale would probably be disrupted and having a hard time to move in an organized manner during nighttime there. There's something here. Additionally, indirect fire and airstrikes by the map is required for certain scenarios. So they say that this enables the British cross-channel guns and German Waldschirm batteries to conduct indirect fire missions. If preferred, the rule could be used in other scenarios as well. Supply levels have been balanced using the virtual supply trucks optional rule. This rule is critical for balancing. So that's there as well. Air support's been balanced for low visibility and air effect. And it tells you, but yeah, so they have something about the OOBs here that was difficult to research because of the event covered falling in the middle of a large campaign in northwestern Europe. The Allied Orders of battles, the Eve Normandy invasion, thoroughly documented and laid out in detail. But these are not. So they have that. Something about scenarios and some good books to read. Or just find good documentaries about it and watch them on TV or YouTube and stuff. And they have some frequently asked questions here as well. I mean, this notes is the mighty, almighty one. It's the best one I've ever seen. It's great. So this is definitely one to turn to when you're picking scenarios and having a good read and stuff. The user manual is the same, is updated. It's 233 pages there. It's massive. This is for you if you don't know the game, all the mechanics, a deep dive into stuff. I mean, it's just too whopping huge to read from cover to cover, but it is very good. It's all in here. Different, yeah. So you can quick jump to different areas as well, which is great. There's also a planning map that comes with the game here. This one here, I have it opened. Yeah, this one here. Huge. It's pretty massive. So let's have a look here. So this is actually, let's see if I can zoom in correctly here. So this is the Scheldt area here. This is where the massive fighting was going on, basically. But since the game actually covers some of the preliminary... I mean, the map is huge. So they have Antwerp here. So the Allies wanted to capture Antwerp for basically one reason. Because it was over 500 kilometers from the D-Day beaches to supply their troops. It was crazy. And many of these other ports were destroyed by the Germans. They couldn't use them, and they were still, some of them were defended, and they hadn't really captured them. So the Allies were focusing on Antwerp and to get this, and then that will be a close hub to attack Germany later on. So they had quite an easy advance after the Germans were broken in Normandy and were in full retreat back towards Holland, Belgium. And but there were some stiff resistance at some places, and that's covered in some of the early scenarios in the game. And Antwerp actually fell surprisingly easily for the Allies, due to there was a very good network of resistance in Antwerp as well. And the port was actually captured quite undamaged, surprisingly to the Allies there. And I think the garrison actually surrendered as well in Antwerp, and after some chain of events. But the thing was, they wanted to go in here and use the port. Now the port, as you can see on the map, is sort of quite far inland, so to speak. You have this whole estuary here, the Scheldt estuary. And what they did, since Market Garden is also included in the game, we all know about the fiasco of Market Garden. It was a very daring plan and dangerous and sort of a cocky plan, thinking that the Germans were completely beat and they had no troops left and was sort of just going to be an easy endeavor. Failed pretty bad. Here they were going to go through an attack, basically. I mean, the paratroops drops, and then the armored army was going to go smash through, and then straight into Germany was the plan there, but it failed because the Germans were actually quite prepared, and they had some pretty badass units there that was refitted and resting, and so it was a pretty. The airborne troops of the Allies took some really heavy casualties there, and it was sort of a fiasco. But what I was going to get to was that Montgomery planned that, and he wanted to execute it. And what they should have done, as many historians say, was actually clear this before that offensive, because it was all well that they had captured all this, but this was still occupied by many German forces, and they had guns and artillery and lots of troops here. I think over 50,000 troops or something. And during that operation, they had time to dig in and fortify themselves. What the Allies should have done would have been, as they captured Antwerp, they should have struck immediately and tried to capture this area, because the Germans wouldn't have had time to prepare all those extensive defenses that they had. So they really reinforced this area, and so the Allies started to attack here, and they did some landings as well. And this is what many of the scenarios. This was brutal fighting, and the Canadians were actually tasked. The majority of the troops was the Canadians that actually did the hard fighting there and bled for the ground taken there. I think the Allies lost something like 17,000 casualties there. It was pretty bad. It was pretty heavy fighting there, and the weather was lousy, and really well prepared defenses, and the Germans were not planning to give up, because they knew that if they held this area, the Allies couldn't move their supply ships through here, because they would be able to hit them constantly with heavy guns and artillery, and it would have been sort of a very costly affair for the Allies to get supplies into Antwerp. So they had to clear this estuary out, the Scheldt area first, Waldschirren as well. Yeah, this was called basically this whole estuary here. And it just, as you can see on the map here, maybe not. I mean, look at this. There's canals, there's wet ground, and it's a pretty bad area to attack through here. And the Allies also suffered a lot because of the bad weather. The air support wasn't the best during many of the engagements in this campaign. They did pull up some battleships and battered the defenders, but the Germans really were. I think it took 5 weeks for them to clear this place, and the last Germans actually surrendered. I think they lost somewhere around 10,000 casualties or more, and about 40,000 surrendered in the end. But the Allies did take a heck of a lot of casualties capturing that. So that's included in the game. So there's quite a bit to go through here. The Market Garden campaign, here it is. 85 turns. They have different versions of it. It will probably say in the notes what the different versions are. Let's see, is there a quick one here? Scenario notes, look at this. This is great. Wow, look at this. You can even go quick jump in the with the scenarios. It's great. Yeah, so they have Market Garden 2 and 2A. So you might wonder then, why is there a Panzer campaign called Market Garden? Because there is. if I'm not mistaken. Let me double check if it's actually called. I don't own that copy. I'm planning to do in the future, and hopefully I can review it here on the channel. But I think it's called Market Gardening, isn't it? Yeah, this one here. So you might think, but why would I want to buy this if the Market Gardening campaign is in here? Well, this is a really deep dive into the Market Garden. I mean, you have the whole campaign and all the different scenarios, I mean, you have so many more aspects of the Market Garden in this. I mean, loads of different kinds of scenarios. It's broken down into smaller battles and stuff, so you can actually play it like in detail, certain engagements. You can't do that in this. I mean, you have the whole. I mean, you do have a complete campaign, of course, but it's not as extensive, I think, as in Market Garden. I mean, the official title there. So why is there different versions? Let's have a look here. Notes. Yeah, so it probably would say here towards the end here. Yeah, so it says, this Market Garden differs from the original founding Panzer campaign's Market Garden 44 in that it covers the entire area of operations of the core and core. The active area of the 12th Corps front. The map is oriented with north on the top edge rather than northeast, and there have been numerous changes to the German and Allied orders of battle and deployment based on sources that have become available in the years since Market Garden 44 was released. Yeah, so there they have the quick map there. So let's see. Oh, it's huge documentation of this because it was a pretty big operation there. So here we go, variants. Yeah. Number 2 there is played in a smaller map which excluded the portions of the 12th Corps zone. This is somewhat restrictive to both the Allied and German players, but ensures a more historic usage of the 15th Scottish and 7th Armored Division later in the scenario. 2A is played on a larger map which extends as far west as Herentals, covering most of the 12th Corps area. This provides both players more freedom to deploy on the western side of the map and includes historical action, 10 odd, 15 Scottish and armored. Okay, so 2A and 2. Okay, so I guess hold on, 2A. What's 2B then? Oh, it's hypothetical. They have the hypothetical scenario as well. And it'll probably say here why it's... What's the difference here? Yeah, so they have what might have happened if the 12th Corps and the 8th Corps were ready to attack on September 17th. Okay, so this is why they have that included there, which is great. So they have the Market Garden there. Market Garden D+1. Or the Operation Velhit. Mopping up. Bridgehead. Forgotten Battle. Let's see. Okay, so that could be... What is the difference here? Okay, variant of the Market Garden. So it starts on the morning of the 18th, a few hours after Market Garden commenced. It uses the larger variant of the Market Garden map. Okay, cool. So they have that as well. And they have the Scheldt campaign. They always include these huge ones, the massive ones. 151 turns, man. So that's the whole thing, I guess. Let's have a look at the documentation here. Here we go. Yeah, this should be big, large. So preferred mode, 01 is PBM preferred, 01A versus the AI, or 01B, play by email only. Okay, so this one's preferred, and this one's definitely, the B version is definitely for the play by email there. So it goes on here. Look at this. All the stuff. Yeah, they got the different variants. Wow, cool. As you can see, these games are packed with hours and weeks and years of gaming, basically. Uh, yeah, wow, there's a lot here. They have the Scheldt campaign 2. Which one's this? This scenario covers the conclusion of the Scheldt campaign from October 20th to the fall of Walcheren and the reduction of the German bridgehead to south of the Maas. The Allied and German players would both represent strategic options, allowing them to delay or cancel certain operations. Wow. Lots of stuff, man. So that's basically what comes with the game, man. Lots of stuff. So I'm going to do as I usually do. I'm going to do a Let's Play. I always do it. But it's going to take me some time probably to figure out what the hell I'm going to be playing here, because some of them are huge. Probably going to pick something smaller there and see what I should do. I mean, definitely something. I'm going to deep dive into this a bit more, have a look what's interesting, and pick something that I would enjoy. Or if you guys wanted me to do something, a certain one you've seen here that sounds interesting, I'll have a look at it if it's not too large, because it will take some time to play it. Do leave comments and stuff. So yeah, this is basically it. The Scheldt. We're going to be looking in the game as I'm actually doing a Let's Play. But this is just going to be an introductory video as usual, and then I'll do something and we'll look at the graphics and maps and stuff. It's going to be it's the 4.0 version, so it's all updated with the latest graphics and toolbars and features and stuff. I'm gonna have a look at that. So I want to thank you guys for watching there, and hope you guys will follow this Let's Play of this, by the looks of it, great game and very interesting theater. This they really do. I mean, the library of the Panzer campaigns now, man, is getting huge. They have 26 products now. They really have covered. I mean, there's lots of more they could probably release. I mean, the operations of the Second World War it's just insane. How many operations there were. Would be cool if they ever released one for the Polish campaign, the conquest of Poland. There, that would be really cool to have a look at, deep dive into that. So we just recently covered Stalingrad there. So yeah, good stuff, man. All right, we're gonna end it here, and the next part will be an actual Let's Play. Pick a scenario and duke it out there, and we'll see how it goes. I don't know if I'm going to do it versus a human PBM game or just the AI. We'll see. So I want to thank you for watching there, and I'll see you in the next part. Have a good one.